Joining us now, retired Lieutenant General Richard Newton and NewsNation senior national security contributor. Hello to you. Thank you for being here as always. She's meeting with Putin right now in Moscow. You say it is highly significant. I think most would agree with you. Why and what are you watching for?
Well, good morning, Marni. It is significant. By the way, this is the 9th visit of President Xi to Russia in the last 10 years. And like you said, it's the first visit face-to-face in Moscow for Xi and Putin since the war began. But it is significant. It's significant in a number of ways. First of all, Putin is kind of on the ropes right now. He, as you reported earlier on Friday, the International Criminal Court has called for an arrest warrant for him for the abduction and the deportation of Ukrainian children. Poland and Slovakia has offered up MiG-29s to Ukraine to really bolster their air power capabilities. Turkey just approved for Finland. They were the last country in NATO for Finland's acceptance in NATO. And by the way, on the home front with Putin in Moscow, he's not doing very well with his domestic audience. So this is a boost for Putin. It's also a significant boost for Xi because he's, like you said, Marni, he's on the world stage as now a global diplomat and making things happen.
So we're hearing things like peace talks, brokering a peace deal, that Xi will eventually call President Zelensky and try to create a ceasefire, which some say would give Russia a little bit more time to regroup. What is China's true motive in this? Is it self-serving?
Absolutely self-serving. But really, Xi's mission here is not necessarily to broker a peace deal. What he wants is he wants to discuss with Putin how they can continue to fuel the conflict, not only to keep the United States bogged down, but really to keep Russia bogged down, because China and Russia and Putin and Xi are really adversaries. But there is a matter or a method of convenience here, somewhat of a strategic partnership whereby you have nearly a creation of a new world order. You've got China, Russia versus the United States and the West in a much more bolstered position than we've seen in many years. I would call it, and many others have, almost as if it's a Cold War II. Case in point is Xi just last week, China, negotiated a normalization of relationships between Iran and Saudi Arabia. That would have been unthinkable several years or so ago. But on the heels of the U.S., that debacle of withdrawal back in Afghanistan a couple years ago, almost as if he's trying to fill a void. And so Xi wants to be on the world stage as a rising power with their rising trajectory. And you see Putin really needing all the help he can get as a declining power.
And Putin needs more weapons. He's running out. The battle in Bakhmut is a perfect example of the Russian forces continuing to see depletion in their munitions. He will ask President Xi for assistance, for help, no doubt, even if that's not made public. Will he get it?
That's to be determined. And that's Secretary Rumsfeld, former Secretary of Defense, would say that's a known unknown right now. It would not surprise me, though, if coming out of this visit that there is some modicum of military support. It could be at a lower level in terms of ammunition and other things, but there also could be things such as providing those chips, those computer chips and others to really build back up his arsenal of weapons, especially long-range weapons and so forth. This is really making the White House nervous because what we do not want or need is now China at least advocating publicly, but now formally providing arms to Russia. That would be, to me, a really game changer.
Right, and must prompt the U.S. to take some action, even if it is sanctions. It stood out to a lot of people over the weekend, last 24 hours, Putin's surprise visit to Mariupol. He was in a very manicured area on a children's playground. There was a beautiful apartment complex behind him. Much of the rest of Mariupol does not look like this after Russia's invasion. Why was he there? Why now?
Well, he's there to really signal, I think, not only to the rest of the world, but to the Russian people that he is really in for this protracted war in the long haul. But think of it, they took over the city in May of last year, turned it into rubble. And now you see that backdrop, as you indicated, Marni, of a new apartment building coming up and so forth. That's an information operations campaign, or in a more layman's terms, that's propaganda. And what his position is that, again, to bolster, I think, his support in Russia, is that it's the Ukrainian nationalists who want to overcome and take over, what he perceives as Russian territory. And so he's visiting that, and then he's handing out this propaganda as if he's trying to build back up Mariupol that he just turned turned into rubble just a few months or so ago.
Yeah, if anything, just showing no signs of backing down as this important meeting takes place in Moscow. General Richard Newton, as always, thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.